like Nessa says, don't bring me into this love. I'm just here.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Okay.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. I win.
Hey!
You're first.
No!
You start it.
No!
Yes.
Right.
You're not allowed to add that bit in. It's got to be rock, paper, scissors, shoot. You're not allowed no additions. Meg wins.
Yeah. But I win.
Meg wins on the fact that you were trying to cheat.
Yeah, you did cheat, to be fair.
Nah, I win.
I'm the referee.
Shut up.
Got to do it once more.
Okay, once more.
But no
Rock, paper,
extra.
scissors, Sudoku. I win.
Right, okay.
Matty takes control because he cheated.
Yeah, he did cheat,
Don't
to be
know
fair.
what you're talking about.
So what are we talking about, Matty?
I don't know. I'm not the one in control here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Considering you said earlier, oh, I'll take control of it. Sure, it's fine.
Well, at the same time, you did just have a massive yell at me for just moving a candle a minute later.
Hey, just leave the candle.
Only. Now, can we just get on with this?
The three
Some of
candles.
us have got places to be.
No, well, not you. I've got places to be as well. I've got to drive all the way to Bath tomorrow.
Yes, good for you.
Okay.
Believed. You're the mayor.
Well,
Caitlin!
sexist. Are you saying because I'm the male that I have to do everything first?
Yes.
Wait, let's just use this as a topic moment for a second, right? So you're saying because he's male, and you're saying it's sexist. How do you feel? Why do you feel like it's sexist?
It's not. I was just a joke out.
Come on.
Also, Alex,
My reasoning of being, yes,
we don't trust it.
is the fact that
Not
us
listening.
women had to fight for the right for our vote, whereas they got it
From the beginning.
handed to them on
At
a
the
plate.
same time, think about it this way, Alex. Fuck you.
And it's like, you guys don't pay for our nails.
You don't want to say that. You don't want to say that.
Notice how I've Right, hey, notice how I've recently got my nails done, and who paid for them? Moi. Thank you.
Moi.
Thank you for
Moi.
Do you mean moi?
I
Do you mean moi? Not moi.
say it in my own way.
Moi.
Moi.
Moi. Moi.
Right. Okay. Right. Now that that's over with.
No, it's not.
It's not. It's
What?
He didn't buy me a vape either.
No one's bought anyone a vape.
I had to buy it myself. Not even Vina thought he would
Try that.
buy me. No, I've got my vape here.
Because it's burnt.
That's what I had to say to you.
Alright. Huh?
No. We're not starting this vape smoke war. Again.
Try that.
It's burnt.
Yeah,
You said
yeah.
it earlier, I know.
Even though I put liquid in it, yeah, Alex, taste it. And you'll notice what I mean.
We move on to the topic.
Sorry, yes, carry on.
Right. Okay. So, what do we want to focus on today? I mean,
Up to you. I just thought, considering that back in court, I thought I'd give you an idea.
it's a back in court. Let's actually look at it. Because I saw it a couple of months ago where it was all over social media saying that they were going to have these, proceedings and all of that sort of stuff and, verdicts, and if they can be released because they've been in prison for quite some time now, I have to say, right? And I understand that they are guilty of murder, but, the way the story tells, some people are going to have opinions on that, and some people are going to be like, no, not interested, or some people's going to be like, actually, well, I don't believe that version.
They will, 100%. However, the way you got to look at it, especially with what they went through in their childhood, would they still be locked up if they were women?
Yes.
I don't think they would. I feel like they would have got not even half of the sentence. I feel like they would have not necessarily got away with it, but they wouldn't have been given life imprisonment. And to be honest, I think, in my opinion, they shouldn't even be arrested at all because of the whole situation that they went through.
But at the same time,
They should have been given.
that's saying though, Alex, that yes, they went through that situation, but that's them saying murder's okay then.
Well, no, it's not, because it's different.
It's not.
Yes, it is. With them being SA'd and everything else that they went through in their childhood,
Yeah.
if that was a woman who had said, "Oh, my dad's done this," they wouldn't have been given half of, well, not even the majority of that life imprisonment. They would have been granted so many years to serve to be released, or they wouldn't have even had to do that at all. They would have been given a certain, like, hypothetically,
Could have been put out on probation.
not even probation, but they would have been given some sort of trauma, like, something to do with like mental health and counselling, things like that. And that's the kind of situation you're looking at, because it's one of those things where, yes, you're right, people are going to have different perspectives, but at the same time, you can't help wonder if, like I said, if they were women, what would have happened to them? Because I don't think they would have been given life imprisonment, especially after coming out and you seeing all the videos that happen in the courtroom, how how they did show remorse, and they were quite filled with that trauma. You can't look at it as if to say they should have been put and given that life imprisonment.
At the same time, a lot of people can show false remorse.
I mean,
They can, but especially with they're not actors.
no, they're not actors. They're just two normal, ordinary human beings.
You don't have to be an actor though to show false remorse.
Yeah, you don't. But there's no way in God's earth they would be able to put on a show like that.
Oh, there's a lot of cases that have been like that. They put on false remorse and everything, and they can switch up like that.
They can be, especially with it being the 1980s, something like that. This all happened.
1990.
No, it's way before 1990.
It says the brothers who are suspected of the murders of their parents on 12th of March 1990.
Was it 1996? Let me check.
It says 1990 right here.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what you're looking at. It said on the thing that I was watching earlier, 1980 something.
I'm looking at it right now.
I mean, I've got up different news reports because we are looking at something that is massive. And you can't really take that lightly. Like, two ordinary human beings were SA'd as kids.
They were sentenced in 1996.
And yeah, okay.
But
so
they suspected to have murdered the parents, whatever, in 1990.
But Matty,
I've got to double check this.
they were SA'd as kids, right?
Still not an excuse.
And then
For
out
murder,
of
it's not.
If
Hang
that
on,
happened to you, if this has happened to you, you're saying if there was no other way you could get out, especially with how many people came forward regarding everything that had happened in their family minds.
It's still murder though. Murder. I say it's bad, yes, but murder trumps it.
Okay. Well, hear me out then, right? And I will be honest, right? And I will say this bluntly, right? From someone who personally was SA'd myself, right? And for confidential reasons, I'm not gonna disclose any more information about that or who the person is. But for someone who was essayed herself, right, being essayed is a horrible experience,
And I'm not
Matty,
disputing that.
right? No, hang on, right? And you've got to think, right? These two ordinary guys, right, the Menendez brothers,
1989.
right, were essayed themselves, and it just so happenedly to be by their own parents who conceived them and created them and birthed them and was meant to love them, right, as parents should, right? And out of defense, right, out of survival defense, any normal human being would do anything.
It's
Absolute-
murder.
Yeah, it might be murder, but any human being will do absolutely anything to keep their survival.
But
right?
Hear me out now. Let me speak now. That's literally saying, though, this can be disputed in any other way, but that's literally saying murder for them should be allowed.
No, I don't
Passing it
think
off
murder
on.
should be allowed for anyone, including
That's what
the
I'm trying to
Menendez
say.
brothers.
That's what I'm trying to say.
But think about it, Matty, right?
With
so
murder
many
cases,
so many murder cases, right, get let off because of it being through self-defense, right?
or no evidence, not enough evidence for it.
Well, that's the thing. It's either not enough evidence or self-defense, right? And I think in a self-defense situation, when you are at risk of your life as a young individual, and when I say young, I mean really young, because they're children. They're not like teenagers. They're like children turning into teenagers, nearly, right? And then they grow up.
You're also shouting.
Well,
It doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter, right? They're also growing up, right, in that home with their parents, and they're so sick and tired emotionally, mentally, physically of all that abuse, right?
Especially from, like Meg said, parents that are supposed to protect you and care for you, give you that whole life support and,
Yeah.
raise you. And then it's like, how would you feel personally if like your mum or dad came into your bedroom, started like touching you, doing all that?
Oh, please, simples.
But then realistically, the police, have you seen how many cases of, sexual assault
Get evidence
gets-
myself. Build up evidence myself. Simple.
but they don't listen.
Okay.
So many cases of, like I said, sexual assault gets taken and the police don't do anything. And it's like, this is why everyone gets fed up with the system. Because if you think about it, especially pedophiles and all that, they get a smaller sentence than what drug dealers do. And that is
Yeah, I
a
know that.
fact. Like, there's one in the media, Mark Feely or something like that.
But when pedos do get arrested, sent to jail, it does get 1,000 times worse for them in the jail. If people find out what they're in for, is their life mainly on the line.
But then you say
Which
that,
is, in
but
a
like I
way-
said, if you look at Mark Feely, he gets moved around.
Mm.
He gets protected by the police. Now, does anyone ask to be exploited, especially as a child? No.
No.
Do people ask for Class A and everything else? Yes, they do.
It's one of those things where it's like if it's drugs and I mean like the illegal substances that you can get a hold of illegally, but you should not be taking them because they are illegal, right? It's the understanding that it's a choice. You made that choice,
Oh, 100%.
right, to partake in that substance. Whereas something as what should be considered in the eyes of the law, right, far greater than drugs, right, is essayed and ard and murdered, right? All of those things should be classed higher than drugs. But we live in a world where, unfortunately, right, there are some cases where it has been let off or it has been not taken seriously, right? And it makes me sad. It really makes me sad because there are so many people out there struggling with those sort of situations and circumstances, and they should not go through that. No one deserves to go through that. No one deserves to know what that experience is, because if there was a world or a kind of like solution where we could stop all of that horrible behavior from people, I would be all for it. I would be like, yes, let's make this world a better place.
100%. And this is one of the, scary parts of how our society is. And it's like, I don't get what the interest is in, what goes through their minds either of when they look at a child. Because in anyone's right mind, you're like, oh, it's time for me to, use like dating apps or things like that, something that they can meet someone, but not a child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the Menendez brothers, they went through SA and R and all the other horrible behavior from their parents, and they were gruesomely treated. And I feel that, in a way, I feel for them because it wasn't great to have to go through that. And I mean, looking at from the news report on my laptop, right, and looking at the photo of them, young men sat in court having to go through a court proceedings to admit to their guilt of murdering their parents, even though they were gruesomely treated by their parents beforehand. That's not great. That's really not great. And the fact that in their case, they have struggled to find evidence to show their innocence, right?
Yeah.
The innocence that a lot of people believe that they have due to their storyline, right? But I also feel like people who are capable of murder, I feel that in a way, murder should not go unnoticed. I think you should definitely serve your time for that, because I think that murdering a person, whether they're good or bad, is not great. You've just taken a life, and that life is not gonna be able to live, breathe, talk, or be on this earth anymore, right? They're gonna go to afterlife because of the actions that were taken to make that happen. But murder, it needs to be kind of taken seriously, and it needs to be, well, they've murdered someone, let's give them a sentence. But due to the evidence and the story that has led to the case, let's be fair about what sentence they give
Oh,
the
100%.
Menendez brothers. I mean, how do you guys feel about the case? I mean, it's going on today.
I'm just hoping we get good news.
Good news.
That they can be freed, they can reunite with, family, they can go off and do their like just leave prison altogether. Because personally, on my belief, they've done their time.
How many years was it?
30, about 30 years.
30 years.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
with murder, it's anywhere from like 25 years to life. And they're getting up on that part.
Yeah.
But it's the part is we don't know if they'll get released or they'll get put parole or house arrest, stuff like that. That could continue afterwards.
In their opinion, I was reading on an article that was put out, I want to say yesterday or today. They apparently are still pose as a risk to society. But the thing was, yeah, that's possible, but I don't feel like they would necessarily harm anyone.
Yeah.
In the sense that they have none of us. Well, I can't say none of us because obviously we don't live in the USA. We don't live anywhere like that.
Yeah.
As well, if they do pose as a risk to others, they'll get. If they do get partial free sentencing, then they'll be out on parole on ankle monitors, which is like house arrest to the limits.
Yeah, and that I could agree with, to do that if that's what the police are thinking. But
it's not even the police thinking; it's the judge.
Well, yeah, but in my opinion, they've done their time.
You feel that they've done their time?
I do. I didn't even think they should have been arrested for everything they've done. Which is why I do say, I definitely believe they have done their time. They're not, they're not, like, it's not like obviously you're right, they did commit a murder, but realistically, it, like you said, it was more of a
self-defense.
Yeah, more of a self-defense. They were trying to get help.
Yeah.
But because they're men, they're not easily to be believed, especially when they turn around and they say, my dad did this. It's like Matty could do that and he'd be told, well, we've not really heard this before.
Yeah.
As well, it says in the UK, murder carries a mandatory life sentence. With a life sentence, that is until the person dies.
Yeah.
So
that could be, and that could be the verdict that happens for them. It could be a case of they could end up still in prison after their kind of resentencing today proceeding. I feel that I am neutral because of the fact that, as you said, they are two men that went through a really gruesome experience, and like that should not happen to anyone, men or women, right? And I feel that
they will have quite a high possibility of parole, though.
Yeah, but I feel that looking towards the more realistic evidence that they have, that would be ideal in this sort of kind of sentencing. And I feel that also, as you said, they've done their time. They've done like 30 years. 30 years. I mean, they were young men, right, when they ended up in prison, right?
100%.
And 30 years has taken away 30 years of their freedom, 30 years of being able to potentially gain some kind of mental health support, emotional and physical and general well-being support, right? And that has taken 30 years away from them, right? They may or may not have had that. And then to be put in a prison cell for 30 years, whether they're together, whether they're separated, to be put in that situation for 30 years with other criminals that have been in that scenario,
As
Or
well, it is very over excessive, which the police and the judge have been looking at how they actually killed their parents.
yeah,
They killed them with over a dozen shotgun rounds.
survival. When you're in a mental state where you've been hurt from someone so many times, it screws with your mental health, right? And this is the thing. People go through so much and it affects your mental health, it affects your well-being, it affects your physical health, your emotional health. And again, so many people in this world today, young individuals, are potentially experiencing something similar. And again, that leads to the survival reaction, right?
They were also 18 and 21 when they killed their parents.
Pardon?
They were also 18 and 21 when they killed their parents.
Yeah, but they had gone through all the experience before, right?
Yeah.
So
Up until basically that point,
Yeah.
they went mad,
Yeah.
and they thought, I've had enough.
But I feel that if they do get released, if this is their time to get their freedom, there's still going to be restrictions.
Oh, I'm not saying it won't.
They'll be on parole. They'll be on a monitor, ankle monitor.
Yeah, not only for other people's safety, but genuinely for theirs. You've got to think, they've spent 30 years behind bars, right? And they're not going to know what this outworld looks like. They're going to walk out of their kind of jail place, right? And they're going to be like, OMG, like, the world's changed. What's going on, right?
Yeah.
I can't say that they don't already know what the world looks like now, because obviously transport to courts and stuff like that. But at the same time, you've got to think they've been hidden away for so long.
And you also got to think they've been separated for that time.
Yeah.
They weren't allowed to go to the same prison. So it's one of those things where I know for a fact that must have been difficult when obviously they were separated.
I mean, they've only got each other. So to deny them of each other in order to still have some emotional attachment and safety, that can be a hard thing.
Oh, 100%.
Especially when both of them have gone through the same gruesome experience. So, yeah, my personal feelings are I am neutral. I am hoping for the best result that comes for them, because I think I do feel for them in their
They also have a
case.
sister as well.
Pardon?
Also have a sister as well.
Yeah, but I feel for their position, and I feel for their kind of choices, but I feel also neutral, because I think murder, I don't agree with murder, but I also don't agree with SA or anything like that. So whatever happens, I wish them the best. I'm not gonna say if I think that they're guilty or not guilty, because that's not my decision to make. And I think this can be a massive reality shock to this world, where people go through that, and we need to be careful with the choices we make in our lives and who we surround ourselves with.
Oh, 100%.
And it also leads back to that kind of topic of, if something isn't right and you can feel it and you know it's not right deep down inside your core, speak up, right? Speak up from the first instance. Don't hide away. Don't try and keep it on the down low. If you're not comfortable, you have every right to say no, and you have every right to speak up and go, I'm not comfortable, or this isn't right, this isn't what I want, right? People, speak up, stop hiding, and the world will begin to see the horribleness so that we can fix it. Start speaking up when something's not right for you. So, yes, that's my 2 cents on that one.
Personally, from me, it's not so easy because, like I said, police, they don't care. They couldn't care. And it's like, there's so many essays, everything that's reported in the sense of, over the last few years, only most of them get the good outcome.
Mm.
And it's like, a lot of people, they also feel disgusted in their body.
Oh, yeah.
They hate their body because of it. And it's not nice. But then also, going back to kind of that bit, men are given a certain perspective. So it's like, they're told, don't cry, because otherwise you're not men.
And that is
Mhm.
toxic masculinity, which I think toxic masculinity really needs to be looked at, because there are so many males out there hiding their emotions, and that can really affect their mental health.
Right?
Right?
100%. I'd rather, my man show his emotions and cry on me
Yeah.
rather than, be left to suffer in silence.
I mean, I have brothers, right? I have brothers, and they're growing up in a world where they are taught that it's okay to express your emotions. It doesn't make you any less of a man to express your emotions. And that realistically, if they can feel safe to express their emotions, they can know that they're not going to try and hide it, and they can just be themselves and not have that constant worry in the back of their mind. Am I being too much, or I need to act like this, or I need to do this, or I need to look like this, or whatever it is that men feel and think that hides the emotions.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, I feel that we really touched on a very hard topic today, because
There's a lot we know, but there's a lot we don't know. What's going
yeah,
on.
there's a lot we know, but there's a lot we don't know, and that can really kind of open up so many kind of comments and opinions and thoughts and feelings. And I think that if there are people out there that really want to kind of share what they think with us, I think please do, because we'd love to get their take on that.
Yeah,
And
most definitely.
yeah. So, yeah. We'll find out what happens with the Menendez brothers.
Yes.
And I think that's just what the best thing is to do. And personally, I'll be praying for them, and I'll be hoping for the best result that works for them.
Yes.